Hello, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I am really excited to share with you my thoughts on the one key fact that is the most important in the Karen Read trial. That all other evidence and science and testimony needs to be judged upon this one fact. Now, I was just in because as this is live, the Karen Read trial is also live, and I was watching Andrea Burkhart, and somebody made a comment about like John O'Keefe, like how long, like when did he actually die? Because was he alive on the way to the hospital? Was he? And I think this person was saying something about the search, because, well, he must have still been alive when Jen McCabe searched House Long to Die in the Cold. If that really occurred at 2:27, then he would have been alive, and that's why she was searching it, right? And so I put in my little comment of what I'm going to tell you right now, and somebody else wrote back, no. He didn't die right away, blah, blah, blah. Some comment about how no, he didn't die right away. Okay. Well, that's what we're here to talk about, because every other thing needs to be judged on this one key fact, okay? And it goes to the medical science. Now, I didn't go digging through last year's trial and looking for clips and things like this for you. I didn't do that. You can do that to verify if what I'm going to say is real. All right. I'm just going to say it, and then you can do your own digging to see if what I say is correct. All right. So first off, the medical examiner, when there was a medical examiner, there was also a neurologist. Okay, so these people that had done their reports on John's injuries. Okay, there were lacerations and some bruising. There, obviously, on his arm, there were, and I don't think they called them lacerations; they called them abrasions. But there was a lot of attention given to his brain, and that the injury in the back of his head, how that had swollen. There's no place for it to go except for down, like where the spinal cord goes into your skull, and that swelling there then blocks off the blood or whatever, that injury to the back of the head was his fatal injury. How fast? It said minutes. Okay. So within minutes, he would have died from that injury. Now, did that injury occur from being hit by a car and not by the car, because the car only hit his arm in the state's theory, right? And what the state says happened. But when he flew through the air and then hit the ground, that hitting the ground is what caused that injury. Okay. Or, according to the defense, he went into that house, he was attacked, he was in a fight, not just attacked by the dog, but the arm was caused by the dog, and the face and the head were caused by a fight. Now, whether that someone punched him or 1-2, and then he fell, and then he hit his head on something like a dumbbell or whatever, but that, hey, Chalet in the house, woohoo! Okay, you're just in time. We're getting to the one key fact. So whether it happened by hitting his head on the ground or hitting his head on something in the house during a fight, once that injury occurred, he was gone within minutes. Now, you don't know anything that's been going on with this, so this is good. Excellent. I've got some notes on the case too. I didn't do extensive notes like I did last year, where I was like recording everybody's what everybody's saying, because you never know later if you need to look back and see what they said, right? So I was writing down everything, almost like transcribing, right? I'm not doing that this time. But if I have made a few notes, like, I'll make a note about that. Things that gave me pause, I made a note about. And there's baby. There's baby. Okay. That's good, baby. You need to go down. And Gibbo in the house. Woohoo. Okay. So we can establish, as I just said, from the medical testimony, that the injury to the back of the head, however that was caused, is what killed him within minutes. Now, it's fish and chip time. Okay. Because Gibbo's from the UK. Okay. Now, if you remember, everybody that saw John O'Keefe on the ground said that there was only one eye that was bruised and swollen. Okay, one eye. By the time you got to the hospital, it was two eyes. You can check everybody's testimony, whether it's Carrie Roberts, Jennifer McCabe, Karen Reed, law enforcement, paramedics, firefighters, doctors, medical examiners. You can check everybody's testimony. There are some photos. You can go look for all that yourself. I'm not going to bring it up here. When he was on the ground and he was first found, only one eye was bloody and swollen. By the time he got to the hospital, both eyes were bloody and swollen. Now let's think logically in a medical sense. How did that happen? That happened because of the CPR. Okay? So you have to think about this. Whether he was hit by a car or whether it was happening from a fight inside the house, either way, at the moment that injury occurred, his heart stopped pumping. And there was only time for one eye to get swollen, to get bruised and swollen. The second eye did not have the heart pumping to fill it up with blood. So there's all these broken blood vessels. Don't ask me whether it's left or right. I don't remember. It's kind of irrelevant. I mean, it's important during the trial, right? During testimony in the trial. Yes, of course you want to get it right. But for the purpose of this, it doesn't really matter. One eye had time. So the first, I would logically assume that the first hit had time for that blood to keep pumping and start bruising. The second hit did not have time for blood to swell and to bruise. So that is how fast his heart stopped pumping. All right? That is the key fact. So now everything else that you look at and you listen to in this case, you need to judge by that. What time did his heart stop? Because it was like immediately with the injury. So there's like talk about like, well, was he, did he have hypothermia? Was there time to save him? Let's look, as I mentioned in the beginning, the comment that I saw just before starting this show, that the Google search by Jen McCabe. Why would she be Google searching at 2:27? How long to die in cold? Does that mean that he was still alive? I mean, if she did it, right? She's saying she didn't make that. She didn't do that search at that time. She did that search at 6:30 in the morning. Okay. But if it's true that she did search at 2:27, why would she be searching at 2:27? Because if Karen Reed, as the Commonwealth is saying, was struck by the car and the impact of his head hitting the frozen ground is what caused that injury, well, his heart stopped pumping at that moment. They're saying this time around, they're saying 12:31 a.m. is when that happened. So yeah, why would she be making a search at 2:27 if he's already gone? Even if it happened in the house. Well, I guess, and I'll now here's an opinion of mine. It's not fact, opinion of mine, that I don't think they originally planned to frame Karen with this. I think they originally planned to say the snowplow hit him. But whatever their original plan was, they were talking about it and they were figuring it out because they got a dead cop in their house and they got to figure out some kind of story. Well, should we say this or should we say that? Well, how long would it take for somebody to die in the cold? Can we, is it going to be believable that that's how it happened? Because they were making up some kind of story, which may or may not have included Karen Reed at that point. Then that makes sense. Gibbo said, Chalet says, excellent, thank you. Gibbo says, I think she did it, Karen, manslaughter, but she will walk because they are after her for murder. Okay. And I would be interested to know what evidence makes you think that he was hit by a car. Because really, when it comes to the trial, now see, the most important key fact is what I just said about the two eyes. That one eye had no bruising, that his heart had stopped. And if he hit the, think about this, okay? If he hit the ground hard enough to cause that injury because it was frozen, all right? And also there was the brain on the, like shaken baby syndrome. If your brain gets sloshed inside the skull, that's a problem, and there's a medical term for that. And it according to physics, wherever the impact is, then it's going to hit the other side of the skull directly across like a pendulum. Okay, it's not going to veer off at an angle. It's like a pendulum, and it's going to go straight. So if he was hitting the back of the head, then he's going to the brain is going to hit the front of the skull, right? Not the sides of the skull. But he also had brain injuries on the temporal lobes on the sides, which is consistent with his eyes being hit, right? Which, if you're, my son took boxing, and so I drove him for his boxing, and I thought, well, while I'm here waiting, I should get some exercise, right? So I just kind of did some exercise boxing in a sense, but the trainer taught me to do the 1, 2, 1, 2, and then it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, or whatever. I don't, there's a 3, 4, 3. I think 3 is in the stomach and 4 is the uppercut, if I recall. But that 1, 2, 1, 2, right? Bam, bam. There's your sides. The first one starts swelling, but he got the back of the head injury, and so forcefully that it caused his brain to hit the other side of the skull. And if he hit the ground, so let's go with the Commonwealth, and then I'll read the rest. I see another comment. Let me get this out. So if the main injury was him hitting the ground so forcefully after having been hit by the car, which was not in his head. No one's ever said that he was hit by the car in his head. They're saying that when he was hit by the car on his arm, that caused him to pirouette and fly and hit the ground, and that the ground is so frozen that caused the injury to his head. Okay. That doesn't explain what happened to his side. How did he get the bruising on the side? Because once you impact on the back of your head, you're not going there's no more impact for the sides. So the injuries on his body are not consistent with that theory. Frank says, Gibbo, she said he hit him. She hit, yeah, like I hit him in her first interview, then changed it to I think I hit him. Every incident is different. We can't say evidence points to this. We are not experts. I think that we can look at the evidence, and the evidence is the most important thing. And we need to judge all the testimony by this. We have numerous sources saying that she said some variation of, I think I hit him. I hit him. I think I hit him. Did I hit him? All of this. I think in the beginning she didn't know. Could I have hit him? But then you have to look at the evidence, and there is no evidence of a car crash, of a collision between a pedestrian and a vehicle. And I think as we see the expert testimony is going to show that. You know, people say stuff that's not always correct. Yes. And then we are like, that sounded wrong. Or is that just me? Oh, absolutely. And it's been proven through scientific studies that if you get a lot of different people as a witness and you stage some kind of event, and then you ask them, what did you see? They all say something different because we're focused on a different angle or a different thing. Have you guys seen the gorilla experiment? I love the gorilla experiment. The first time I saw it, I didn't see the gorilla. So what the setup is you have somebody bouncing a basketball, and you're told how many times does the basketball bounce. So you're counting those basketballs. And then someone in a gorilla suit walks behind the person who's bouncing the basketball. And then, did you see a gorilla? No. Nobody sees the gorilla because you're focused on that basketball. Yet when they play it back and you see clear as day this gorilla walking right past a person, and I say gorilla, it's a person in a gorilla suit, okay? Just to make sure that's clear. Walking past, it's like, how did I miss that? Our memories are fallible. She had one job to keep silent, and she couldn't do that. But I think the charges are too high. Okay. You know, and I'm actually watching this trial, trying to imagine if I'm the jury and I don't know what I know, Jen McCabe probably sounds pretty credible right now. Everybody sounds pretty credible. You know, yeah, the defense is like setting up inconsistencies, which at this point for the jury don't have any relevance. You know, later there's going to be more relevance. Handy's in house. Silence is golden, but my heart still beats. There you go, Chalet. Oh, gorilla emojis from Andy. Thank you so much. And coffee emojis. And Gibbo shooting emojis right back at Andy. You know, I really, really, really believe that the more you see, the more evidence you see, then then you will realize that there's no way John O'Keefe and Karen's Lexus had a collision that broke that taillight and that threw him in the air onto the frozen ground that caused the injuries that he was left with. Freshly squeezed orange juice for Chalet from Andy. So that's really kind of it. You know, I don't need to make this a super long video. Maybe I can do another one later. It kind of goes over, or maybe we can just spend just a few minutes. I'll tell you some of my thoughts so far. I only wrote notes on Whiffen and Jen McCabe. I didn't write any notes on Carrie Roberts or anything. So it was day 5. The leaky balloon knot testimony was the best testimony. Yeah. Well, he got his karma, didn't he? Proctor, we're talking about Michael Proctor, and he got fired for what he did. Okay, my first thought with Whiffen was that he was talking about the tab timestamps. And he explained that when you open a tab, that opening of the tab is the timestamp. The open, it's like, it should be called the open tab timestamp, right? Doesn't matter how many searches you do, as long as you don't close that tab, it will always show the time of when it was opened. All right. But then he said, if it goes into the background, you're using something else, it's still open, but you're using something else, that when it comes back into focus on your phone, then it gets a new timestamp. Doesn't that contradict what you just said? Wait, what? I caught that, okay? Number 2, what would Apple Health activity look like being hit by a car? So I mean, this was just, these are my thoughts, right? I must be bored. No, I can't wait to get back over to the trial. But hey, as long as we're here, let's get these thoughts out, and so it's all in one video. I don't want to make it too long, because then later people wanting to watch a replay, it's like, if it's like an hour for this one, if it's like an hour, maybe they wouldn't be as likely. But if it's 20-30 minutes, okay, let's check out what this Maven chick has to say. Right? It's never boring with you on my mind. Aw, you guys are so sweet. It's Chalet and Gibbo. You're such a creep. As snap out of it, as Cher said in Moonstruck. Okay, I'm going to let you guys do your little conversation. So I had the thought when they were talking about, Apple Health data. I'm sure that there are people who have Apple Health data when they got hit by a car. People that we know were hit by a car. What does that health, I would be interested to know, what does that Apple Health data look like? Does it look like steps? Does it look like movement? Does it look what? What does it look like? I don't know. I would be interested. I would love to see a comparison. This is what Apple Health data looks like when a person is hit by a car. This is what John's Apple Health data looks like. They're consistent or they're not consistent. That would be like, if I was a juror on this case, that would be something that I would find helpful. Remember, our glasses are always half full. Okay. Number 3. Whiffen was using location data, both from an app called Waze and the Apple location, okay, which he was saying Waze actually uses Apple's location data in its app. That's what it uses for the location. And he plotted on a map It was at this speed, it was at this speed, it was at this speed, and then it came to a stop. And it came to a stop near the flagpole, according to him. Now, of course, there is a circle within that. Anywhere within that circle, it could, but it was within 10 meters of accuracy at that point. Okay, so Whiffen, put the car coming to a complete stop at the flagpole, not at the mailbox. Now, if I'm a juror that doesn't know anything and I'm hearing this, okay, because I haven't heard Jennifer McCabe's testimony yet, that she stopped, well, number one, that I haven't heard anything about a Jeep at the mailbox, or that Karen was at the mailbox, or that Karen was stopped and sitting in front of the house and then moved again. You know, so I thought that was interesting. And the time that it stopped, because that would, if he went into the house, then that would be the time that he went into the house. And shortly thereafter, got attacked, and his heart would have stopped pumping, as we were talking about earlier. Oh, root beer. Oh, that sounds so good. I want a root beer. I don't have any root beer. I want a root beer. Number 4, location data, non-specific time, dash, in basement, question mark. Okay. So he had this, like, when she's on the road and she comes to a stop, it's this 10-meter accuracy, really small circle. Then there's this big circle that's unspecific for about 15 minutes or so, 10, 15 minutes, something like this. The low accuracy period was from 12:25 to 12:37. I wrote that in my next note, okay? The redirect of this. So therefore, and I think they did a good job bringing this out, that one of the ways that it can get non-specific is if it's under a cover like a roof. How much more unspecific would it be if it's in a basement? They didn't really bring up the basement so much. It did get mentioned. But yeah, so I would suggest that the non-specific time of the phone from 12:25 to 12:37, John's phone was in the basement. I think he died before 3:37. I think he died before 3:30, at 3:20 something, myself, based on what I've seen. But that's just me telling you what I think. And I will always tell the difference between what I think and a fact. Okay. Number 5, at 12:38, that's when it starts the high accuracy again, which covers the yard and the house. So now we're not in the non-specific yellow jiggly line. Now we've got a specific circle, but that specific circle includes the house. So the phone could have been in the house and not outside yet. Okay. 12:31.38. The Commonwealth is now saying when the collision occurred. So that's when it kind of came out that about the 12:31. So I just made note of that. Number 6, temperature test. Blah, 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 blah about the temperature of the battery in the phone. And this guy shares his methodology, what he did and how he put a phone in a freezer with a thermometer and checked that. So the other thermometer was just to check the accuracy, that the phone was reporting what was true. But then he was writing down, okay, at this time it went this many, and this time it went this many, and this time it went this many. He also did it later. I don't remember if it was outside in the snow. Like he's from Canada. There was snow or something, or it was just it wasn't necessarily slow, but it was a really cold day, just to test it again and kind of just to get that rate of how it drops. And if, so he did all this testing. Well, while he's doing all that testing, he mentioned it came up about freezing. And he said -5 degrees Celsius and 36 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, if you know anything about temperatures, 0 degrees Celsius is the freezing point, and 32 degrees Fahrenheit is the freezing point. 0 and 32. Now, he admitted that, he's not as familiar with Fahrenheit, but -5 degrees Celsius is below freezing, and 36 degrees Fahrenheit is above freezing. So how could he say that -5 degrees Celsius and 36 degrees Fahrenheit are the same? It's not. And that was really disconcerting. If he's supposed to be the expert, then he couldn't get that right. Power. Oh, your mom's in Spain. Yeah, the power came back, didn't it? In Spain. Number 7, battery temperature can't show location except to say inside or outside. Yeah, and that I thought was significant when you're thinking about all that data. 8, quote, you have doubt. Oh, this is how he ended. And it was a really good ending, I have to say. Whiffen is asked, you have doubt about the search, right? However he worded the how long to die in cold search. You have doubt about it. Yes. That doubt is reasonable. Yes. Thank you, Your Honor. That's all. And I just went, oh, reasonable doubt. Oh my gosh. Okay, so then we get to Jen McCabe. I only have 5 points here. She mentioned that when she did the search, it's outside of the car, right? After getting out of praying, after getting out of the backseat of the police cruiser where they were praying, when they saw John being carried into the ambulance, this is when she did the Google search. But that completely does not line up with all the data, with the video dashboard cameras, with it doesn't line up. Okay. Number 2, she again said that they turned John over. Well, we already heard Carrie Roberts say, because it was like, wait, I mean, when Carrie Roberts was testifying, we're like, wait, didn't they say that they turned the body over? Because she said they went up to him and his face was covered with snow. So the first thing they did was wipe the snow off his face to confirm that it was John. They did not roll him over to wipe off the snow. He was laying on his back, and so snow had accumulated on his face, and they wiped it off. So this is 2 indiscrepancies between Carrie Roberts and Jen McCabe. You guys are having so much fun in the chat. I'm glad that you're doing that. Number 3, I had to get home because of I haven't heard anybody talk about this. So she's at the Albert's house, 34 Fairview. Everybody's gone. She's in the house. One of the police, I believe it's Lank and one other officer, are in the house, and everyone's sitting around the table. She names everybody who's there inside the house, as we've commonly called them, the McAlberts. Lank is there getting her statement, and she gets a phone call from Proctor. And Well, actually, Lank left and she called Lank back, but right before she leaves 34 Fairview, she gets a phone call from Michael Proctor. Says, okay, I'm going to come over, I'll be there, whatever, and interview you. She goes, well, no, I have to get home. Interview me at my house, not here. Don't come here. Go to my house. Because I have to get back to my kids. And she's talking about like, I have to tell my kids what happened. They're going to be so distressed. I'm going to need to comfort them. She's saying this. She's saying that this is why she told Proctor to go to her house. Now, within 30 minutes, she's at her house and Michael Proctor is there to do the interview. All right. Where are the kids? You just said, I've got 4 kids that I need to comfort. Yet when she says, who was, then they specifically say, who was there? Who was in the house at the time Michael Proctor came? It was her and her husband and Michael Proctor and Buchanan. No mention of the kids being in the house. Why did you have to rush home to comfort your kids if your kids weren't there? So that stuck out to me. You just spit out your coffee. Wonder why Zach isn't here predicting about when you're going to say, oh, Gibbo. I'm just checking the comments. Yeah, you guys pretty much just chatting with each other. Okay. Okay. My actual notes, number 3, I had to get home because of the kids, to tell them, comfort them. So Proctor is on the way, but when he arrives with Buchanan, no kids are there, ? See? Number 4, she got caught lying to the feds. Number 5, the Jeep at the mailbox. She's still sticking to the Jeep being at the mailbox. But and if I'm in the jury right now, I don't know any different. Okay, so. But we know that at least at the last time, I don't know what he's going to say this time, but Ryan Nagel, when he pulls up with the truck, so Karen Reed pulls up in front of the house and Ryan Nagel pulls up right behind. Jen even testified to seeing the lights, which would be Ryan Nagel's car. He said there was no Jeep, that he pulled up right behind Karen. So she's still sticking to the Jeep being at the mailbox. And that's it. That's true, Maven, Chalet says. So, and whose doggies? Andy's makes them sleepy. Who's walking who? All right. So that's it. I'm going to end it. So hopefully more people will watch the replay and find out this information. I think it's crucial. That one key fact, remember, only one eye was bruised when they brushed off the snow off his face. Then they started doing CPR. By the time he got to the hospital, all that pumping of blood reached those broken vessels on the other eye and swelled up his other eye. That is conclusive that his heart had stopped before it had time to bruise the second eye. That fast. So judge everything else based on that. And so if that's true, right? If that's true, then it wasn't caused by the car. There was no collision with the car because of the injuries, because of that one specific fact. Forget the dog, forget everything, right? You're going to judge all of that based by the fact that his heart had stopped between one punch and the second punch. It was probably 1, 2 down, dead. Hate to be blunt about it, but that's probably how it happened. Within, and there was, that heart stopped before it had time to get any bruising at all. Any bruising, not a little bit of bruising. There was no bruising on his second eye. Okay. So thank you so much. That will get your attention. The doggies ran off with the phone. Uh-oh. We better go get it. Gosh, what's law enforcement going to say about the dog ran off with your phone? Right? Can't wait to see when that's finally used in a defense. The dog, yeah, there's steps because the dog ran away with the phone. All right, catch you later, alligator. In a while, crocodile. Okay, and until the next time, catch you later.